You doing public speaking? I'm here to give my persuasive speech on appropriate language. I always figured in order to be able to lead the people, you got to be able to speak the language well, and that's having appropriate language. If $1 million was based upon the way you talk to someone, would you do it? Would you try to achieve at it more so than not like caring whether $1 million on the line? You're going to talk a little better. I think you would. Today I'm going to use appropriate language and tell people the effectiveness of it by speaking appropriate language. I will begin by telling people the use of proper grammar in appropriate language. Having a good concept of the proper grammar is not hard at all. Appropriate language is used with so many successful people, business icons, and so forth and so forth. Politicians know how to use appropriate language the best because they got to sell themselves. They got to be able to speak to you, propaganda and all sorts of things such as that nature. In public, when you talk to someone, you want to talk appropriate enough so they can understand you. And like I told you before, it's a simple part of grammar, knowing how to speak to people. Is 8 parts of grammar. And grammar, what you learn is that you learn how to place words, what the words mean, how to talk to someone. You will find in appropriate language, you will find all sorts of grammar and parts of speech. I wish you could hear every great successful business icon or great successful business leader or lawyer or attorneys and so forth. I wish you could hear them speak in the way they use appropriate language. This is a great example of appropriate language right here, and not so much of appropriate language. Malcolm Little. Malcolm Little was a thief, a hustler, a drug dealer, a pimp, and he went to prison. And when he spoke using all that "what you know, daddy, your job" talk. Hey, what you say, man? But when he went to prison, he changed it to Malcolm X. Malcolm X spoke the appropriate language. That way people understood him and he was able to lead people. See what I'm saying? Before, Malcolm Little was kind of, didn't know how to talk to people. And look at the effectiveness of what Malcolm X was doing. Whether it was on some black activist movement or whatever it was, still he had people listening to him. He made it to CBS. I don't think they would have had anybody ignorant on there speaking. And when you watch him speak, he used the appropriate language. He learned, he educated himself. So I think education is a big part of appropriate language also. It's a tool that you can use to succeed in anything. The language you use can have a powerful impact in the way you send a message to someone using the right appropriate language. Everyone should be able to understand what you're saying. You got to reach them. If I'm going to, and it's sad to say this, but this is what I feel, public speaking, people may disagree with me or whatever. I feel like the appropriate language for hip-hop, if I'm going into a hip-hop environment or a kind of hip-hop neighborhood, I can't go speaking this way. I got to use the appropriate language for them. Maybe they only understand me if I talk that way. Or maybe this person don't understand me if I talk this way. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I feel. At the same time, if I'm in a business-like environment, you can't go in there, hey, what's up, Bob, Joe? It's the way you carry yourself in and that's the way you can see the effectiveness. People watch how you answer questions. People watch how you come off. You never get a second chance to make a first appearance. I always say that. You gotta speak in a certain way, and use the words correct. Being able to explain complicated concepts in appropriate language, you will allow people to quickly grasp on what you're saying. They can quickly pick up on, wow, I feel him, I understand him, I see where he's coming from. I know, when your message is coming across more clear. If, like I said before earlier, if you could receive $1 million based on the way you talked to people using appropriate language. Would you do it? How would you succeed in it? How would you come across at it? Understand that. That's why it is so important to have the effectiveness of appropriate language. You know, if I'm making a business deal, I'm working for a Fortune 500 company, and I'm going and I'm trying to talk to sell myself so we can achieve this goal. I'm trying to close this deal, and I don't think people understand, you know, the effectiveness of appropriate language and using it efficient enough to succeed at it. So if you can understand me as well as I can understand or would like to understand you, if someone is speaking to me, then you will know the effectiveness of appropriate language and how to use it. And I will hope everyone in any race, cultural form, I will hope anyone will have the diversity that I feel like I have to be able to speak to people in an appropriate manner, and so they can understand what I'm saying and get my message across way clearer. And I thank you.